Well, howdy, Embody. Afriel here. Today, I would like to talk about the importance of good role modeling. So, the first part is the most permanent thing is a temporary solution. Um, and Noah, I'm sure you've seen this plenty of times, but when you have somebody who does something, like codes something in a certain way, and they feel like they just don't have the time to make it correct or make it complete, they'll do kind of a hacky solution that works for most of the cases that they're worried about, but isn't necessarily going to cover all of the edge cases. And the problem with that is that when you do that, oftentimes it works well enough that you can just leave it that way for a pretty extended period of time. Um, because especially like if it does work well enough and you don't hit edge cases terribly often, then people will oftentimes just develop workarounds for those edge cases because it's a lot easier and less costly. So in my experience, it's better to do something right the first time rather than trying to do something in the hacky enough way. Better to do it right. And sometimes you actually just don't have the time to do it right to begin with. Like that is a real thing that you have to be mindful of. But when you do that, you need to actively make a plan to go back and fix the thing. Like, you can't just accumulate technical debt over time. Lucky if you remember you have to fix it. Well, that's the thing. You don't want to have to remember to have to fix it. You want to, like, make a plan when you incur the thing in the first place. But yeah, you can slowly accumulate technical debt if you're just hanging about. And it can sometimes take a long time for that to kind of rear its head, but eventually it will become a problem. It will become something where you genuinely have to deal with it because not doing so will mean the death of whatever it is that you're trying to do. And it's kind of funny too, by the way. You can actually physically see technical debt in some cases. It's a little bit less apparent in code. Like, you can't physically see it in code as much. Although, actually, I take that back. If you look at the commit dates for certain things, as an example, with code, you can see when the last time was that something was touched. And in the same sort of a way, when you're working in, like, a mechanical space, you can see, like, serial numbers of equipment. Like, okay, how long has it been since this pump was replaced? And another really interesting one that you can see is the dust accumulation on certain things. You can see when the last time it was that somebody actually came through and did something or looked at something or cleaned something just by the sheer amount of accumulated stuff that is sitting there that you can tell just hasn't been cleaned off. It is kind of entropic, to answer Foxman's one-word question. But it's sort of, in order to make things work, you have to do a certain amount of maintenance to push entropy back to keep it at bay. But you can let something degrade and decay for quite a long time before it ends up actually becoming an issue. So there are ways to kind of help prevent technical debt from arising from other people's actions, or at least, like, setting flags or triggers in such a way where you can kind of anticipate that, oh hey, there might be a problem here, like the technical debt might have accumulated in this particular location. And the best example I have of that is, if anybody here knows, the Van Halen No Brown M&M's technique. So when Van Halen was touring, whenever you're touring, you have like a whole bunch of requirements about, like, oh, I want the stage to be set up in this way, and I want to make sure that, like, this is done in this particular way. And some of those are actually really important safety concerns, especially when you are a large band and you are on a stage that had to be assembled carefully. You don't want there to be a problem where something wasn't done correctly and then the stage collapses or the pyrotechnics don't run correctly, and so as a consequence, like, people get hurt really badly. If I fall, the whole brown M&Ms thing, what they would do is they would put in the contract that we want to have a bowl of M&Ms backstage, and we want to have no brown M&Ms in the bowl. And everyone knows that some of these folks are really, really eccentric, and so a lot of people would just roll their eyes and be like, okay. But there was actually a really good reason for doing it that way. And the purpose of that was, we want to make sure that everything's being done correctly. How can we institute something where it's seemingly unreasonable, but if they do that, then we can be reasonably assured that everything else was done correctly. And then when you're talking about, like, was the stage constructed correctly? Were the pyrotechnics set up correctly? That is stuff that's really critically important. And so if there were brown M&Ms in the bowl, then they would know, okay, we need to go over this with a more fine-tooth comb, because there were potentially other issues that they would then have to identify. To kind of go from there, when you dig a small channel in the sand, it can become a raging torrent. And that's just something that you have to be mindful of. Or that, not that it can be, but that it will become a raging torrent. And you have to make sure that you are digging the initial channel well, so that way the torrent that comes out is what you want and need it to be. And it does sound tidal. The riptide is probably the more powerful example and the more common example. What you have is you'll have a sandbar that builds up over time, and then eventually the waves breaking over it build up the pressure, build up the pressure, build up the pressure on the other side of the water, and it breaks free, and then the water starts rushing out, and it can carry people out to sea. So what you want to make sure you're doing, the more visual example is if you have a sand berm that builds up over time, and it blocks between a river and an ocean, you can dig like a one-hand deep and wide channel, and that turns into a raging river. So you have to be mindful that when you have a small channel that you're digging at the very beginning, that it can become something much, much bigger. So the way that kind of corresponds to human behavior is that when you have a lot of people doing something together, the way that the first couple of people do it will have a significant impact on the way that the rest of them end up doing it. If you get it right, if you get that flow of behavior right from the start, it can be really, really powerful, because then it becomes really easy for everybody else after. Like, they can just model the behavior of the first couple of people, and it just chugs along nice and smoothly. But if you get it wrong, or if somebody in the middle of it messes it up, then what can end up happening is it goes horribly, horribly wrong. Because what ends up happening is the people behind them imitate the behavior of the people in front of them, but because it's not correct behavior, it's not effective, but the people behind them don't know that, and so they just continue imitating and imitating and imitating. And it can be really hard to break that cycle. And sometimes you can need to interrupt that flow, but a lot of times it's actually it's not necessary, or in some cases not possible. Like, you can't take the time. Yep, traffic is a perfect example of that too. So the next thing, a river can be shifted by moving only a few stones. There's a lot of cases in which you can have very significant modifications to organizational behavior with relatively little input. So oftentimes you can find yourself either accidentally having created a bad flow, or you get put in charge of stewardship of something that has a bad flow, right? But yeah, it doesn't take much force to shift things. Oftentimes, at least this is my own personal experience, what you want to try and do is, a lot of times the game is either poorly defined or was never defined, of like, what does it mean to win within the sort of participation in an organization. And so if you can just provide a good definition for what winning looks like to people, All right, the last thing I want to talk about before I open things up for folks to come in is the idea of they're watching you, Wazowski, always watching. And I am pulling from Monsters Incorporated for that idea, but what I want to talk about is a little bit different, because in that one it's more, the character Roz is more like this bureaucrat who is also secretly part of sort of like the internal affairs department for Monsters Incorporated, or the government, actually. I don't know if it's for the company itself. It's been a while since I watched that movie. So what you have to understand is that especially when you're in a position of leadership, but even when you're just working side by side with peers, they're going to be observing you, and they're going to model their behavior after your behavior. Because, I mean, part of that's just human psychology, right? If I don't know how to play the game, what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch somebody who I believe knows how to play the game, and then I'm going to model off of them because I also want to win. But yeah, you have to keep in mind, they are watching you, even and especially when you think they aren't. And what's interesting about people always watching you too, is there's oftentimes folks will pick up on things that you don't necessarily think are consequential, because you have known about them for such a long time. They've become incorporated into your understanding of the world for so long that it no longer is something that you register as an important or insightful idea. So you do the thing casually, you do the thing like out of habit, and then somebody sees it, and then it unlocks something for them because they didn't know. And you shouldn't, just because you are conscious of the fact that other people are watching you and are modeling off of you and emulating you, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to get a complex about it. Like, you shouldn't get so wound up about it that you end up making mistakes because of it. Right? You want to make sure that you give yourself some grace too, because while it is really important to provide that positive model, you're going to slip up. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to do those hacky things sometimes. But what's important to do is to try and minimize that, and to try and correct yourself when you do stumble and fall. You need to show an example of not going hollow. That's really what it comes down to. And that's not... Actually, this is a bonfire moment. That's not something I've always been successful at. Right? It's a big part of why I'm ending my videos with "Don't you dare go hollow." It's a way of consistently reminding myself that you shouldn't give up. That it's wrong. It's wrong to give up. That's how evil wins. Not just good men doing nothing, but good men trying and trying and trying to do good things, and then becoming discouraged, and then going hollow. That's how evil wins. And I have definitely given up on some pretty important things in my life. And I try not to beat myself up about it too much, because a lot of those, upon significant further reflection, given where I was at in my life, my level of understanding, I don't think that there was an alternative. I don't think that there was a different way I could have done things given my level of life experience and given the circumstances that I was put in. So there's some grace to be given there. But I also want to make sure that I'm adequately learning from those experiences, so that if they do come up again, that I am adequately prepared to deal with them properly in a way that I wasn't the first time around. And yeah, it is very... It's not so much, Ron, that... it's more just making sure that you're acknowledging the fact that that people are observing you, and that you want to make sure that you are approaching that with the right attitude, approaching that with the right... I don't know. I'm struggling to find the word. But yeah, what you want to... And in that idea of being Christ-like, though, you want to help drive the heuristics of others in a positive direction, right? You want to say, hey, this is the thing that I want to see more of in the world. And so if you can model that properly for other people, you can help bias their heuristics in a positive direction, because then they see, oh, it is possible to be a good person and be successful. It is possible to do X, Y, and Z, because they've seen it, right? They've seen it for themselves in you. And then they can believe in the possibility of it for themselves. And then because they believe in the possibility of it for themselves, they can execute on that possibility. Yeah, you're giving someone else their meta heuristics. I mean, sometimes it's a more direct heuristic, but oftentimes, yeah. While it's important to want to drive the heuristics of other people's in a positive direction, it's also important to remember that's not the only or main reason. And I'm talking in a less certain part of my understanding of things here, so please bear that in mind. But this is just what I've come to understand, what I've come to believe, is that you have to be able to not go hollow for yourself first. You have to truly love yourself first before you can not go hollow for the sake of others. Because you can not go hollow for the sake of others. That's absolutely a thing you can do. But what happens oftentimes is you get into sort of a codependent relationship with them, where the only way that you can justify your own existence is in the presence of other people. And that's not really a healthy place to be. You have to be willing and able to live not just for others, but also for your own sake. You have to be living because you firmly believe that being itself is good, that is the right way to be in the world. Yeah, I think that's about the extent of my thoughts for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop in the Tavern Telepresencing chat, and if anybody wants to come and join me on the gaming couch, talk about content.
How's it going?
Oh, hey, we got a Foxman.
Hello.
I see the assassins have failed.
Oh, may they continue to do so, my friend.
There we go.
Also, good point tonight on going hollow. I think it was helpful. I think some of the stuff I've been thinking about with nihilism, about trying to understand how to make that jump to life matters, being is good, that type of stuff. Yeah. It's a difficult one to make.
Well, it's, from what my understanding of it is, it's actually axiomatic. Like, it's not you can't logic yourself into depression, you can't logic yourself out of it. You have to realize that it's, like, there's an idea that I have that any proper epistemological framework has to be based in autological or Quine-like objects, that you have to have something self-referential that you hold as axiomatic as the basis of any proper system. And I know that that's probably kind of a weird thought.
No, I mean, you just described basically religion or God, right? Like that's the thing where and this has been some of my take, which is kind of when I talked to Mark D. Parker about this, was that it's like part of the reason I'm a Christian is because, like, it seems to be the only thing that works. Like there's no other thing that seems to do that same thing for me. Ron, understatement of the century. Nihilism sucks.
It does suck. It sucks to go through it too, but it's not something that you really choose, I feel. Like, you're not...
There's some people who try to say, like, oh, I ended up here and I'm going to, like, make it proud. Like, I think that was I don't know if you saw Heliocentric's conversation with Chad a while back.
No,
but he tries to make some sort of point about how nihilism is, like, for him it works because pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, maybe. I'm still kind of lost on how he kind of processes all that, so I've been wanting to talk to him, but I've been able to get in contact with him. So
okay, I feel like that's also kind of Slack's perspective, right? Is that he sees himself as kind of a nihilist, and that he finds it freeing That if there's no meaning in things, then he can choose to do the good, which I kind of get, but at the same time, then what's to stop you from just saying that there's no meaning in anything, right? Like that's
Well, how do you know what's good?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it frees you to do the good, and that's where I think, and I think I know where Slack is coming from because he is a fan of the Persona series. There is a certain like Gnostic perspective on it,
Hmm.
which is something closer to like uh, Taoism,
Hmm.
which is like if the good is often equated to order, and then the evil is often equated to chaos,
Hmm.
and so obviously you need to find a middle path,
Hmm.
and um, but then you're just redefining good to the middle path,
Yep.
and then that's another thing.
Yep.
So it's just a
It's just a sleight of hand at a certain point.
yeah, and I think it's just like a maybe not a misunderstanding, but it's a communication that's kind of
Yep.
missing between the East and the West a little bit.
Well,
That still
especially
needs to be worked out.
yeah. Well, and I don't think I don't know. It's just weird to me that someone would define because it's not order good, chaos bad, or chaos good, order bad. It's balance good, imbalance bad, right? Like
Or balance for what,
that's true
like
too. Yeah.
you can have a balance that breaks everything down, but you can also have a balance that builds up.
Hmm.
And that's where like nihilism and Taoism, if we're gonna say like they might look similar,
Hmm.
but in the end, hopefully the balance leads to something that's generative and not something that is like a black hole that sucks everything in.
Yep. Yeah. Balance for what? I like that.
Well, yeah, and it's all the nested meaning stuff that goes on.
Hmm.
The you need to find something that means something, and that's where you kind of have to get to the self-referential stuff, like you were talking about.
Hmm.
There has to be a point where it just hits the foundation and
Hmm.
it's done. I just think who was that? Bertrand Russell, who was saying that there's like brute facts, but his point was that there's a point where it doesn't really matter anymore,
Mm.
and it's just science.
I mean, was that Bertrand Russell before or after Gödel?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really interesting one because if it was before, then I don't know how much I would necessarily trust his assessment because his whole like the whole idea of Principia Mathematica was how do I form this basis for everything? Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Thank goodness that would have been bad. Yeah, no, I haven't been reading it as consistently as I probably ought to be, but I have been pecking at Gödel Escher Bach on Tyler's recommendation, and it has been really good so far.
I haven't been reading as much as I should in general.
Yeah,
I've
it's
been
hard.
meaning to get back into it. Yeah,
It's
I
hard to do that consistently.
started Life of Moses,
Hmm.
and then I haven't gotten back into it.
Hmm.
Then I have Nick Cave's book sitting around
Hmm.
that I need to go through again. And
I haven't. I've heard you mention Nick Cave's name a bunch of times, but I don't actually know who he is. What's his story? Why is he interesting?
he an Australian musician who has always kind of been religion, Christianity adjacent,
Hmm.
but he's also been like uh, had like a crazy music career. He was like really into the punk scene.
Hmm.
He was like early punk. Um, Ended up getting addicted to like heroin
Oh.
and just like some bad stuff. And then eventually he like you know uh, became religious. But throughout the whole thing, he was like obsessed with the Bible. And so
Hmm.
the first half of his career was just him like meditating on like Old Testament scriptures and stuff,
Hmm.
and how that played out in his music. Um, and so it's just interesting to see like how he's reacting to that all through his stuff. But then also, a huge twist in his life happened when his 13-year-old son, I think it was 13-year-old son,
Mm.
passed away. Um, I think he was on acid or something, and like
Mm.
walked off a cliff basically, um,
Jeez.
just because he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
And and so part of this has also been him processing through that within the last decade or so
Mm.
of music he's made. But I think just listening to some of his conversations was worthwhile.
Mm.
Talks a lot about grief and processing that, and uh, what art has to do with that and everything. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, he has a
Interesting.
good unheard conversation.
Okay.
Trying to think of what else he's done. Did some conversations with Rick Rubin. Um, his Stephen Colbert interview is actually pretty good. That's one that I feel like is pretty good to like just introduce people to him.
I think I have watched that one actually. Because
Yeah.
you posted that in the Broke Clock Tower Discord at one point, right?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I think I watched that one then.
Yeah, I showed my great aunt that one because I was like, I don't know how else to introduce this guy.
Okay. Let me go up
Oh, I'm
here.
just now getting to Ron's comment.
Yeah.
I hate to woo it, but is nihilism actually a spirit of unbelief? And the antidote is actually an outside, all-encompassing love from God. No, that's pretty right.
Yeah. I think so. That is one thing that I wouldn't say I'm like struggling with it per se, but this notion of spirits, I definitely believe in the sort of like disembodied things, or how was it that I forget who I was explaining it to. The way that I kind of think about it is you have sort of roles that get played within a particular frame. Like you have a platoon leader who is in charge of a platoon. You have a captain who's in charge of a company, but that role is filled by a particular person. And so the way that I understand it at least is that you have
So you're thinking like thrones almost?
like what?
Like I'm just trying to frame what you're saying
Mm-hmm.
about the spirits, about how maybe there's like an office or like a throne of something,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever takes its place, is going to take that place, but
Yep.
the individual is not as important as the position maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's generally,
Well, like
I would agree.
the idea being that like if you had the spirit of war, that would be filled by a particular spirit that we call Mars. Like that there is a some actual identifiable entity that is conscious that is actively filling that role, but it's not the only one that could do it.
I can see that. I could also see oh, there's a whole bunch of pieces to this.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that I think that's what the patron saint thing is doing,
Mm-hmm.
or is trying to do, is saying like uh, there's the role of the patron of war.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want it to be filled by Mars, or do I want it to be filled by, I don't know who the patron saint of war is, but
Or of soldiers, or
Christopher,
yeah.
or whoever.
Well, and it's not something that I've really heard about. Joy, I am vaguely aware of the Strange Loop idea, but I also know that I haven't read far enough to really know what he's getting at with it. I think I know where he's going to be, where Hofstadter's going to be going with it in GEB, but I'm not far enough where I can really talk to it yet. So, I guess it's a frustration that I have with Jonathan Peugeot. Is like I feel like there's definitely an opportunity to talk through that kind of a thing. Of, but I don't actually know if he believes if that's the way that he understands reality. So I don't know. Maybe that's just my weird interpretive lens that I'm putting on things.
No, I think you're. I don't think he would disagree necessarily. I think
Mm.
just like I think he talks about the spirit of Santa Claus.
Mm.
Uh, I think he would be one of the first to say that the spirit of Santa Claus can be abused and, redirected towards something a lot worse than,
Mhm.
what it is. There's a certain I don't know, there's a certain revolution that happens when Santa Claus's colors are changed to red because primarily the a Coca-Cola
Is that what
advertisement
that was?
campaign. Maybe that's just a myth, but I'm pretty sure. Like
Interesting.
before that, there was a little bit of ambiguity on like what colors would specifically be used, but
Hmm.
maybe I'm
Interesting.
just echoing some misinformation.
Somebody in chat, go look it up. We're both busy. I'm playing Dark Souls. He's playing Pal World. We got things to do.
Oh, I'm just watching. I can look it up.
Okay.
Okay, it started out originally as religious symbolism of like the robes of a bishop,
Okay.
but it was further popularized.
Okay.
So half and half,
That's good to know.
according to, you know, AI Google response.
I've been surprised that it's actually like there's some cases where you want to be a little bit wary of it, but I would be willing to trust that one at least.
Eat at least one small rock a day.
Yep. It's good for your health. Yeah, that's actually a really interesting problem. The AI poisoning that a lot of people are intentionally doing.
Hmm.
Like, have you seen? Because there's a lot of artists that are very, very upset about.
Yeah,
My wife is on team artist for this one too, so we have a little bit of disagreement about this. That what they've started doing is they will intentionally corrupt the image files in a way that makes it so that people can still see it and understand and interpret it properly, but it makes it very, very difficult for AI to get useful training data out of the images.
just mess with the encoding and everything. Yeah,
Not with
it's
the encoding. You basically there's like you slightly change the values of all of the pixels. Like not enough for
oh,
yeah, not enough for a
okay,
human to perceive a difference, but enough that it ends up becoming a very very difficult for the AI to see the patterns that it has been learning to see in other images.
interesting.
Yeah.
And the question is, right, is are there going to be developers who are developing an algorithm to address the intentional poisoning of art?
Well, how could you? Like, are you gonna use an AI to?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
you can flatten it. That's the thing, where it's like
Oh, it's
you have
true.
another flattening algorithm on top of it to
Mm.
observe just general like gradients and stuff.
Hmm.
Like there are ways to try to address it,
That's true.
which I think is just I don't know. It's kind of funny because then the reason why they're doing it is because they're trying to train on
Stolen
art
data.
that doesn't want to be used
Yeah.
for that purpose explicitly.
Yeah.
There's a yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the ethical concerns there are really difficult to resolve. Well, maybe not difficult to resolve because you really shouldn't be using stuff that you don't have the rights for, but how do you effectively stop that from happening?
Mhm.
That I don't know. I feel like part of that is if you are an artist that's putting stuff out on the internet, but there's kind of a reasonable expectation that your stuff is going to get shared around and used in ways that you didn't necessarily intend for it. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Sarah Scribbles, but she's had a couple of her comics appropriated by people she does not like,
Mhm.
and is very unhappy about the fact that they are uh, making things that are objectionable in her eyes, like taking her comics as a meme format and then changing them to suit their own purposes.
Mhm.
And it's like, what are you gonna do? Like you can't legislate memes. It's just not reasonable. Oh
Well, and
gosh,
there's a
this is
difference
annoying.
between that and the product, though, right? Like,
That's true.
um, if Coca-Cola, you know,
Mm.
picked up one of her comics and started making an ad campaign around it, that'd be another thing entirely.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's kind of the. It really comes down to money for the most part, like
Hmm.
the laws and everything. Even if somebody has, moral sensibilities,
Hmm.
really the whole system really just cares about
The dollar dollar
the
billio.
dollar.
I mean, that's one of the big things that I took away from the army is you can make all the rules in the world that you want. People will or will not follow them, and honestly, the better way of dealing with that kind of thing is not trying to legislate or regulate or order a particular outcome. It's to try and make it, and it's this. I mean, this is kind of getting into a bit of a dark art with nudge theory, but that's kind of what you have to do. Like you can't just say do this or don't do this and expect that to be always obeyed by people, because it's just not gonna. People are gonna find ways to get around things. They're going to try and circumvent things if it's in their interests. And yes, that's not great, but it's also just the way that things work in real life. You can't build a system assuming perfect people and then be surprised Pikachu face when, oh my gosh, why is the system not working?
Well, and along similar lines, you have I mean, it's the whole thing where you see this in movies a lot, where the villain is expecting everybody to act in their own self-interest, and when people don't act that way, they're also surprised.
Yes,
It's like
that's a really
it's
good
all
counterpoint.
unexpected.
Yeah.
That's the whole that's the ending to the Dark Knight. That's the Joker thinks that everyone's gonna
Right about now. Yep.
yeah.
The thing with that, too, for me, though, is it's nice if you can set things up in a way where you are intentionally making it easier for people to be good, right? Rather than having, like, and that's not always the case, because sometimes you learn lessons better if you have to fight through things, but it just, I don't know. In most cases, I don't think that you should be actively trying to make it harder for people to be good. That they have to act against their own self-interest just to be doing things in a way that is beneficial for people overall. And there's some places where that's unavoidable, the whole prisoner's dilemma idea, but if you can design the system in a way where you're you're not intentionally setting up prisoner's dilemma for people to deal with, that's probably for the best.
Mhm. Well, and then I think the argument that I'm thinking of can be used to defend really bad stuff, and I want to make sure I'm not falling into that. But there is a certain amount of there's a scene from there's a character in the movie Silence, and I think he's also in the book where he is one of the Christians in Japan who's being persecuted, and he continuously apostatizes and then comes back and asks for forgiveness. And one of the things he says is why me? Why did this have to happen in my lifetime? If I had been in a nicer time or place, I would have been able to be a Christian and it would have all been fine. But
Yep.
This is the
It's
worst.
too much.
It's too much. And
But that's
and
so.
it's kind of thing where it's that's where the rubber meets the road. That's the real thing.
Yep.
And it's horrible to say, but that is it, right?
Yep.
Uh,
Well, you don't get a
atheist
true.
in foxholes kind of thing.
Well, not just that, but you don't get a true measure of what your spiritual elo is unless you're actually coming up against a challenge.
Hmm.
Anybody can be good when it's easy to be good. Can you still be good in the face of difficulty, in the face of disaster, in the face of tragedy, in the face of malice? Can you still do that?
Yeah. Have you heard of soft lockpicking?
Yeah. There's some really cool videos online of people intentionally making puzzle challenges for that sort of stuff too.
Hmm.
You're soft locked with a couple of random items, and then you have to figure out what it is that you're supposed to do.
Oh, the one I heard about a lot was the Magikarp at the Elite Four with no other items.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
This guy found a way to get gravel, the off chance that a Graveler uses Explode
Hmm.
and misses, giving your Magikarp XP, and then doing
Interesting.
that over and over again until he evolves, and then being able to beat the Elite Four with a level 100 Gyarados as the way to escape that soft claw.
Interesting. How long does it take to get there?
I've heard it was quite a few hours. At least you could maybe automate it though. I think you could maybe write like a Lua script or something that could do it.
Okay. Can we please not? Oh gosh. Okay. Well, there's death one. One more try. At least one more try.
You're only gonna need one.
That's. I appreciate your confidence. I've never actually watched the full series 'cause I just couldn't get past the first couple of episodes, but I still use the line from Gurren Lagann. You don't have to believe in yourself, just believe in the me that believes in you.
Congratulations, Shinji.
That's Evangelion, that's different. Okay. Do you only get one chance with Solaire? No, it's down the stairs first. That's.
You only get one chance at Solaire.
Well, okay. Like this is an Otome or something?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's a timed event.
Okay. No, I'm not. Gaping is not what I'm doing to the dragon. Its mouth is gaping wide open because it's been
what's
eating
happening
things.
To Ryan.
Why? Why are you like this?
My intrusive
I mean,
thought.
I think it's a fair question.
Say again.
I think it's a fair question. I think Grizz asked the fair question.
Use your lightning spear, you. Not. Okay. That's what I get for not shielding when I should be. Third time's a charm. Third time is a charm. And if not, then we'll turn this into a two-parter, and I will go and get Lautrec first if I still can in this run. Even
The
though he's
thing
a
is-
bad guy. What's that?
You only need 3. You're only gonna need 3.
Only gonna need 3. I don't know if I've died enough on this play for Grizz to timestamp all of my deaths and then play them on stream. We'll see.
We'll just make a fan edit.
A fan.
We'll play some of McMo's new music over it.
Just stitch together every single one of my deaths through the entire run and just like put it as the music video for one of McMo's songs.
Just have Yappy Sax playing in the background.
I mean, he was saying he was not a particular fan of Mammon, so we could do it on the Mammon song.
I need to go back and watch that. I've been relatively busy lately, so I haven't had as much time to do TLC stuff.
I mean, same.
Yeah. It's almost like being a working adult requires a significant time commitment.
I've been talking to Neil a little bit about YouTube is weird because it's making stuff about stuff.
How so?
It's very second order. It's all about like
Making videos
I
about
make a,
repairing
I'm making
something
videos
or-
about art or something like that. Like that's
Okay.
most of the stuff that I'm thinking about.
Okay.
And but it's not making art normally. Like usually,
It's talking about the art that someone else made.
yes.
Okay.
And sometimes it's talking about something using somebody else's art as a jumping off point. But it's just interesting. I'm trying to negotiate what my relationship is to this, or if I want to, work on something else. So I'm still kind of thinking about what to do about projects and how to not feel like I've completely abandoned everything I've invested my blood and sweat into.
I think the thing with that is that there is actually a pretty sizable opportunity to do like art streams or other things where you are. Oh gosh. I was blocking, but I didn't have my shield up. One more try. Have I tried hitting it in the gape? No. I don't think I'm gonna do that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, art streams work for certain things a little bit better. something that's visual, sometimes even coding.
Mhm.
Um, Writing a book on stream
Mm,
feels like it would be a little bit difficult, or like an article or an essay or something like that.
yeah, it's true. Although, so what about like the sort of science YouTuber approach where we're gonna take something, we're gonna make something, and we're gonna make a video about making the thing? Is that
Interesting.
rather than just doing like a commentary about like a particular artist or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. I think the one thing I've thought about is writing a piece of fiction
Mm.
that is relatively lengthy. That's just been something that's been on my mind.
Mhm.
Not too crazy, but just relatively long length.
Mhm.
Maybe posting like an audiobook version on the YouTube channel or something.
Okay.
Um, so I've been just trying to play around with that. Uh,
There's two things that are coming to mind for me. Have you what? I'm guessing that you have Code Bullet.
Code Bullet. Don't think so.
Okay, he's a guy who does a lot of programming projects, stuff like coding AIs, um, doing weird things with games. He's a really good channel, and I think he does what you're talking about as far as like not just talking about the thing, but actually doing the thing and then talking through the process of how he accomplished it. So that's one thought. And then the other one, I mentioned him, I think in the last stream that I did, was Rodamant, and other gaming streamers like him who do like long form gaming content is the best way I can think of to describe it.
Hmm.
Not doing like super long streams, but doing like 30-minute or hour-long episodes of playing a particular game. And then, because his two main ones that I really enjoyed were RimWorld and Kenshi, which both lend themselves very, very well to doing that kind of narrative exploration.
Yeah.
So,
That's good. I mean, I've been impressed by a bunch of people like Warlocracy.
I
As
don't know if I've heard of him.
he's a Russian guy who does I think he calls it narrative reviews of games,
Okay.
where he plays through a game, is simultaneously reviewing it, and then also like
Okay.
doing like RP of the character and what they're going through and how he's kind of
Yeah.
the headcanon of everything.
Okay. I like that.
It's pretty cool. Again, though, it's kind of it's second order to a certain amount,
Hmm.
and that's it's a good version of second order, but it's still
Second order.
yeah. And I don't know if it's involving. I don't know. I'm still playing around with the ideas of it all and
Mhm.
how that would all play together. But
Well, does it have to be original creation, or can it be that sort of co-creation that you get with games? Is that an acceptable primary source?
I don't know. I'm still kind of again. I'm still thinking it through and trying to understand what the consequences are. I brought it up with Estuary, this broad topic,
Uh huh.
but I don't think it got the bite from my wife and you know old men who live in my area.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
I'm probably gonna talk about it with a friend at dinner,
Okay.
like some point soon. But
okay.
trying to still understand it and get a good idea of what that looks like.
Well, it's
Because
also
I
kind
just
of.
think there's a lot of. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say there's a lot of like slop. Maybe would be the way to put it. Where it's just like
Yeah.
even if it's good, it's just like it's just stuff.
Yeah, it's
And
not. It doesn't have love poured into it.
Yeah, and you can pour love into the second order stuff, but there's a certain level of like I think there's something about approaching. I don't know. I listened to Kendrick Lamar's new album,
Hmm.
and I was talking to Chloe about this. Good night, Spatch.
It's batch.
And the night before, I was telling her about how like I want to make art at some point that makes me feel the way that like a good song makes me feel.
Okay.
And the next day, we were listening to Kendrick Lamar's new album, and he has a song called "Reincarnation." I don't know if you've heard it, but it's intense. Like it's it goes from him talking about his this idea of like generational trauma, about going through the lives of famous artists who kind of all crumbled underneath the machine of music,
Hmm.
and in the end, it's him having a conversation with God, and the realization that he's playing out the story of Lucifer,
Mm,
and that he wants to find a way to redeem that story,
interesting.
to have it become a story of repentance ultimately.
Okay.
Um, and so it's like it's incredible. It's like it's probably one of my favorite pieces of art that I've seen this last year.
Okay.
And
Now it's called Reincarnation.
yes,
Okay.
I think it's
I have to
reincarnation.
Listen.
Let me double check what it's, if it's reincarnated. Sorry.
Reincarnated. Okay.
Um, and so yeah, and the idea of like I don't think you could do that with a YouTube video, and at least just in my head. Like I don't know how I would frame that otherwise. I've seen that in some making, like in video games. I've seen that in a lot of the sport first order stuff, but in second order I haven't seen it quite to that extent or that level of being able to have that artistic je ne sais quoi.
Also, we have reached the "we're not stopping" portion of the stream. I am getting so close. I can taste it. It's gonna be the next
you
one.
have to do the whole quote.
No,
You know how
I don't
to
want to do the whole Battle Kid
you
thing.
know, no, man, like you're like a. I'm
No,
like a-
I am not doing the whole quote. You stop that right
no,
now.
It's like you know how the whole quote.
I
goes.
do know how the whole quote goes, and there's a reason I'm not doing it right now. I might add it to the description. There's a particular video of the Game Grumps playing a game called Battle Kid, and Aaron gets absolutely unhinged in it. So, no, I'm really close to getting this. If I had Lautrec, this would be trivial, but I don't know. Maybe it's good that it is a little bit of a challenge at least. That it's not just me running through the game. Because that's one of the things that's really hard about Dark Souls. For those who have not played it, there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing that comes as a consequence of having a lot of hours in the game, and so it's difficult to convey. Like it's like, oh, I could do that. He's making it look so easy, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of pain behind those skills. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can attest to that.
Yep. Yeah, that's how it all works. Is that you know, anything worthwhile is worth sacrificing for, and lots of sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, and the really hard part with that too, though, is that a lot of people, especially nowadays, practice that dark art of not disclosing and not revealing the amount of time and effort that they had to put in order to gain the skills that they have. And so you get the impression that they are just naturally gifted. And it is really difficult for a lot of people because they expect that they'll be able to do that same thing with that same level of ease. And they get really frustrated and disappointed in themselves when they can't do what they perceive as, like, oh, I should be able to do this because this person was able to do this. And it's like, yeah, but they also put loads and loads of time in that they're not disclosing to you, and you're not aware of that or taking that into account. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's millions of examples of that.
Yeah.
Like Bobby Fischer, I think, is one of those obvious ones to me. Of
yeah. Well, there's a lot of
Someone
natural
who
talent
is
there
not-
too, but
oh yeah, but like you see the price he paid for what he had, and that was part of the reason why I stopped playing chess, was because
you didn't want to go the Bobby Fischer
because
way.
I knew what the sacrifice was to become good at chess, and I was like, I'm not willing to pay that. So now I have to learn how to just like something and not worry about
obsess
wanting to
over it.
be the greatest. At the same time, though, right? Like, I don't know. It's the kind of thing where it's like, what role is there for someone who wants to play Counter-Strike competitively, but then also doesn't want to learn the smokes, or wants to play chess but not have to learn the openings. Um,
Well, so how much have you played CS:GO or chess or whatever competitively?
I played a lot of CS:GO, like in the competitive mode, not very competitively.
Okay.
Um, and then I played chess for a good bit during COVID,
Okay.
and I got pretty good.
I think you
Just
mentioned what
generally
your
with
elo was before. What did you end up
yeah,
getting to?
I stuck around like 1,100 ish.
Okay. So pretty
I
good.
think the highest I got was 1,200.
Okay.
Um, I've never been really amazing at competitive stuff though.
Well,
Partially for that reason, because I realized that there was a lot of sacrifice there, and I was like, ah,
I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at, though. Like, if you got to 1100, like, one of the big things that I see people having difficulty with is sort of what I call getting off the ground.
mhm,
People just have this idea of, oh, like, they have this idea in their head of, like, how good they are, and it's completely disconnected from reality. And it's really difficult for people to just get past that initial barrier. So if you're able to do that, if you're able to get to a fair amount of elo, then that's pretty good. And
yeah,
I don't know. I feel like people don't. I could have shielded. Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably a good place to call it. Yeah, I actually, I've actually lost a friendship over that kind of a thing, where the guy was just so delusional about what his level of competence was, and it's particularly bad with League of Legends because you can blame your team for a lot of things,
hmm
especially when that's not actually what the problem is. It's really easy to just be like, no, no, like it's not my. I can see all these problems with my teammates, and that's why I keep losing. It's like, no, you're the common denominator. You need to work on improving yourself and stop worrying about what other people are doing.
yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, and it's the same thing with any like most things, right? You have the YouTube algorithm is one of these where people will say, like, why am I not getting selected by the algorithm or whatever? And
yep.
um, like if you're good enough, when that time comes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you can get swept up in that entire thing, but
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Well, and it's,
sometimes it comes unexpected and you're not ready for it, and so
yeah. Well, and that's the worst is when you like go viral with a single video and you have no backlog for people to chew on. Like that's if you do want to make this into a career, if that is something that you're trying to do, you don't actually want people to just find you when you're first starting out. It's much better to develop a catalog of content over a period of time and kind of like, develop yourself and figure out who you are as a content creator before you actually become famous or whatever.
and be good at what you do,
Yeah.
right? Like actually push to get better at whatever you're making.
Yep.
I see a lot of people who, they've been doing it for a long time, and it seems like they want to like make this their career or
Mm-hmm.
something. And I look at what they're doing, and I'm like, man, like, are you interested in that?
Yeah. For
I
the
think that's
amount
the
of
thing.
time.
Yeah, like there's this whole thing where people will say like, oh, you shouldn't become a streamer or think about becoming a streamer as a career because everybody wants to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for the most part, people aren't willing to make that sacrifice to actually do it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and not just that, but they have this idea in their head of like what that looks like, and they're not willing to shift or adjust that based off of feedback.
yeah,
Yeah. Which I really like the way that TLC handles this, by the way, because I would never have thought of like being a streamer or doing a stream like this before. But if I'm doing this in kind of a Vanderclay way of like I have thoughts in my head and I just want to get them out, and then in the more TLC way of I want to make a space for and then share that space with other people to be able to like come and talk about things that they have on their mind too and be able to bounce ideas off of each other. I think that that's a really good and healthy approach to like not just using this as I want to be the center of attention for so many other people that I'm not even necessarily engaging with that much, rather using it as a genuine communications platform. Like I think that that's a really powerful idea.
Definitely. It's I mean that's one of the things about TLC is that the somewhat inherently rejecting the normal structure and finding the beauty that's hidden.
How do I bend
Um,
this tool to my will rather than just subsuming myself to the algorithm?
yeah.
And when I say my will, I don't just mean like my individual will, but like if I'm subsuming myself to God's will and then using the tool to serve him in that kind of an idea. That's more what I'm thinking when I say that.
hmm Well, and it's like what we talked about at the campfire, right? The don't you know that you will judge the angels?
Mm.
The understanding that what is the proper orientation of this relationship. Hey, Slack.
Hey Slack, you came on right at the end. I'm sorry, buddy. Noah and I were just wrapping things up. So, yeah. Well, thank you for coming on, Noah. Do you have any
No.
closing thoughts or summarizing or
Uh,
chilling or anything you want to do?
no, not really. I probably will talk to you about some stuff I've been thinking about.
Okay.
Um, I have some more things I've been processing, but other than that, I'm pretty chill. Thanks for hosting this and
Yeah,
letting me hop on and
of course. It was a lot of fun.
engage. Yeah, it was great.
All right. Well, with that, goodbye then. Be safe, friends. Don't you dare go hollow.